Hello, Ruth and Polston, and I'm delighted to be with you tonight and trust the Lord will bless our time together. On nothing less but Jesus' blood and righteousness. Well, the personality in the Bible that I want to talk to you about tonight is a man named Habakkuk. It's in the Old Testament, and he's a prophet. But he's a prophet that's really disturbed. Have you ever been where it seems like evil has got a sort of an upper hand and is running away with them things, and you can't do anything about it? And so you wonder why God is allowing it. And so you begin to question him. Why do you let them do that, Lord? Maybe it's affecting your loved ones. Maybe it's affecting yourself. And you know, I think today we live in such uncertain times that sometimes we have to have a controversy and say, Lord, where's all this going? Well, that's where he was. Because in the Bible, that name of Babylon is pretty familiar to you. And it was just when they were beginning to rise. And it would only be just a matter of time. They were licking up many of the peoples of the world, taking them and making them slaves in Babylon. And Israel was no exception. It was only just a matter of time that they would be there, and they would take them away also. Well, this is just something that was not on his radar, Habakkuk. So he begins to talk to God about it. And it's interesting, some of these things. He said to him, I know that we're not where we ought to be, but we're not as bad as they are. Well, that was probably true. But you know what? God expects more of Israel. And I think that about believers. You say, Lord, you're pretty strict on me. Well, he expects more out of you. Okay, the next one was, oh, Jehovah, your eyes are too pure to let this happen. You see them coming, and you can do something about it. And so the next thing that he says, well, yeah, and we're more righteous than they are. And you've ordained them for destruction, not us. So he's kind of telling God how to run his own business. He said, you know, we're just like fish in a net. And he says, personally, I just don't like it, God. Well, you know, when you are in touch with God, now this whole thing is him talking to God. He didn't go to somebody else and say, and just kind of rat on God. No, he went right to God. This whole book of Habakkuk is between God and Habakkuk. So here we go. Now he said, I'm going up to the watchtower. What's he going to do up there? He said, I'm going to wait and see what God's going to say to me when I'm reproved. He knew very well that he was telling the Almighty how to take care of his own business. And so he knew he was going to be reproved. And he was just waiting for it to happen. I don't know how long he waited up there, but he waited long enough. And finally, the Lord spoke. And you know, he wasn't hard on Habakkuk at all. He said, Habakkuk, you're right about the vision. But the vision that you have is for an appointed time. He said, I will even the score. But he said, when I do, he said, it's on my call. And that time is not now. But he said, you were right about the vision. So he's feeling a little bit better about it. Now he said, in the meantime, before that happens, he said, Habakkuk, the just shall live by faith. What has happened to faith? I got it, Lord. Yeah, I got it. Okay, now what'll I do? Well, he said, get your pen out. He said, I want you to write the vision. I want you to tell Israel that the Babylonians are coming. I want you to make it so plain. Give them a chance to get themselves ready. Make it plain so that they can read it. I did. Now he said, you go. And his parting words then to God were, God, will you not revive your work in the midst of the years? In wrath? This is your wrath time, God. Just remember mercy. You think God didn't hear that? Yes, he heard it. So he goes on. He's running all around. And finally he says, you know, I've been doing this now and making it known as much as I could throughout the country. And, you know, he knew that it was getting closer because Babylon was licking up country after country. It was impossible that Judah would escape. And you know they were carried away for 70 years. Well, finally, when he just couldn't stand it anymore, he said, you know, I can almost hear them coming. And he said, you said, well, if he's in faith now, he's not afraid. Yes, he is afraid. He said, you know, faith can be afraid sometimes, but they work themselves out of it. They work themselves out of fear. So when he heard this, he was so afraid. And he said, my belly trembled. He said, my legs trembled. He said, I felt like my bones were rotten. He said, it was terrible because I knew the inevitable. It was going to happen. So he thought, Lord, what'll I do? What'll I do? And you know what? The Lord spoke to him. Just before the crash, just before they came, before they put the temple out of business, they wrecked it, a beautiful, beautiful temple. They carried the people off as slaves. But he got a flash, and you know, and this is what he said. He turned it into a song, and this song was so anointed that they sang it in the temple, this extravagant temple that was rebuilt. They sang it. So this is what was sung. Although the fig tree will not blossom, nor the labor, nor there shall be no fruit in the vine. He said, although it happens, I give permission. The labor of the olive shall fail. Israel gets rich on olives. He said it's going to fail. And the field shall yield no meat. That's the animals. He said the flock shall be cut off from their fold. When that army trumps in, the flock will be scattered. And there shall be no herd in the stalls, the cattle. Yet, here comes the answer. Yet I will rejoice. What do we do? What should we do? And I trust you do. He said, I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of what? My salvation. God hadn't gone anywhere. He hadn't forsaken them. Yes, they were going to lose 70 years in captivity, but after 70 years that they had broken their Sabbaths, they were sent back. Now I will joy in the God of my salvation. Yes, God said, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. And he's true. And so he said, the Lord is my strength. He will make my feet like hind's feet. Do you know what a hind is? What's a hind?
Behind?
No, the hind. The hind feet of a deer.
The hoof?
The hind feet of a deer. He will make my feet like hind feet. He will make me to walk upon high places. You know, he'd been down here. He was clear on the lower level. His heart was broken with what was going to happen in the land. But he said, God, the Lord is my strength. He will make my feet like hind's feet and make me to walk on high places. The air is better in high places. I think that's where the deep people walk, high places. Yes, there are levels. But he said, he will give me hind's feet, and I will climb to those high places, because he said, I have rejoiced in the God of my salvation. And you know, sometimes you feel like that's all you got left. Well, if that's true, let us rejoice in it. This world is not our home. We're only passing through. Now, I said, he will make me to walk in high places. Now, this song, it's complete surrender. He said, if there's no fruit, if there's no herd, if there's no flocks, and the fields won't have any meat, yet will I. You know, when the Lord gave that to me, I tell you, I just sang that, and I sang it, and I sang it. I made a song to it. See? Although the fig tree shall not blossom. See? Okay, I think I can do this. I haven't done it in a long time, but I've got to practice on you. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, or fruit shall be in the vine, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the field shall yield no meat. I'll skip down to this part. And I will rejoice in the Lord. Rejoice in the God of my salvation. For he is my strength. He will make my feet very good job at this, but nevertheless, I put it to song myself because I want to sing that song. That when I get in position and I don't kind of like the way things are going, and I could say, God, can't we change it? Then I come down and I can sing this song. Yet will I. So whatever you're going through, and we all take a turn, whatever loss, you know, we never really grow much until we've had pain. When everything is going our way, we don't make much progress. We are too satisfied with those results. But when it's going the opposite way, it takes a real act of surrender to say, yeah, although they're coming, although it's going to happen, yet will I. So make a choice to say, yet will I. Joy in the God of my salvation. Lord bless you. Have a wonderful week. Ruth and Polston.